Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mr. Armstrong, and we're going to swing one of the good ones for you. That's Dinah. Look out there, boy. Are you ready? Look out. 1, 2.
Good morning, ladies and gents. Welcome to The Great Everything, your guide to the ideas, the stories, and the culture that make humanity great. I tend to spend a lot of time thinking about the value of culture in our lives. And although I'm no snob, because you know I love Superman comics just as much as I love opera, if not more, but I am still concerned about the pervasive loss of interest in high culture and general culture that I see around me these days. At the end of the day, the station is dedicated to general culture, right? To the things that you ought to know in order to be a complete and well-rounded human, right? It's called The Great Everything, literally. And I think we're losing that a little, don't you think? This type of generalist culture that used to be valued once upon a time. You know, all our great thinkers and inventors of the past, they were generalists, they weren't specialists. Think of, the obvious example is Leonardo da Vinci, but also Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin and Einstein. And pretty much every great artist or philosopher and poet and scientist of the past, these were people who, even when they excelled in one field, like Einstein, beyond that, they were extremely well read. They understood the great literature of the past, the music and the arts, in short, the humanities. And they understood the practical importance of the humanities too. There's this interview with Matt Glazer that really struck me, and it's about Louis Armstrong and about how his playing foreshadowed quantum mechanics. The idea is that Louis Armstrong was the first guy to do proper jazz phrasing, right? It was like a new way of experiencing time. He was the first musician to embody this idea of abstraction, by which I mean that Louis could spontaneously take a melody and abstract it, remove all the stuff that wasn't essential from the melody and just leave it stripped bare, this pure vision of the melody and what it could be. So Glazer has this story about Armstrong playing in Copenhagen in Denmark in 1933, and he's playing the tune Dinah, and his solo on this song is a perfect example of this abstraction.
And it occurred to me that it was possible, and no one will tell me otherwise, it's a fantasy that I treasure, that Werner Heisenberg could have been in the audience in Copenhagen in 1933. He lived in Copenhagen at that time, and in 1933 he won the Nobel Prize for his work on quantum mechanics. And I've always had this fantasy that he and a couple of other scientists, after a hard day of work on quantum mechanics, went out that night, heard Louis Armstrong, and were completely blown away, and realized that in a completely different idiom, he embodied everything that they were working on. Profound new ideas about time, space, and the human place in the cosmos. And they saw Louis playing and they thought, wow, that's it. In a language utterly different than their scientific language. That's it.
This is the language of music, and yet it's all the same. And this to me is the true value of philosophy, by the way, this integration of all human knowledge into a single bigger picture, the great everything. And that's awesome, right? So my question is, why are we turning our backs on this general culture? Why are we so addicted to our current model of hyper-specialization, which is making us dimmer, and it's making us dumber, and it's making us more boring? Why are we refusing to get off our asses and engage with the varied cultural artifacts and experiences out there that can and will enrich our lives and make us more interesting, more well-rounded, better humans? We need to get over our cult of specialization and start valuing general culture once again. A profound knowledge of general culture and the humanities should be an essential requirement for a respectable, balanced and well-rounded human. The sciences are important, but the other stuff, that's fundamental. Because without the humanities, our own humanity is incomplete.